There is a law, invisible yet unbreakable, richer than gold, and more precise than any algorithm designed by man. It is a law that doesn't belong to the wealthy alone, nor does it hide behind complicated strategies or impossible odds. This law listens to the words you speak and mirrors back to you the vibration you carry. I have witnessed this law move mountains of impossibility, clear pathways where there were none, and place in my hands 6 winning lottery tickets, not by chance, but by spiritual law. When I first discovered the teachings of Florence Scovel Shinn, I wasn't looking for magic. I was searching for truth, and truth, once spoken with conviction, becomes the most powerful force in the universe. I remember the very first day I listened to her words. It was as if a curtain had been lifted, revealing a hidden order to life that had always been there, patiently waiting for me to claim it. Florence said, "Your word is your wand," and I knew in that moment I had been using mine carelessly. Like most people, I had spoken of lack, of struggle, of waiting for things to improve, not realizing I was setting those very conditions into motion. But now, I understood. Every word I uttered was a seed planted in the rich soil of the universe, and every harvest, whether of wealth or want, came from the words I had spoken in the secret of my mind. It was a shift, subtle yet profound. I began to speak differently. I would declare with authority, "I am now open and receptive to unexpected financial blessings." At first, it felt foreign, as if I was pretending, but soon the world around me started to rearrange itself. Small demonstrations appeared, finding coins on the ground, receiving unexpected refunds, little signs that the universe was listening. But the true breakthrough came when I aligned my words with unwavering feeling. Florence taught that feeling is the secret ingredient that animates words into form. It's not enough to say, "I am prosperous," while your heart whispers fear. You must feel the prosperity as if it is already yours, to the point where your body reacts as if the blessing has already arrived. So I began to live in the feeling of my desires fulfilled. I visualized holding the winning ticket. I rehearsed the joy of seeing the numbers align, and I thanked the universe in advance for the demonstration that was already mine by divine right. The first win came swiftly, almost as a wink from the universe, as if to say, "You're getting it now." And I didn't stop there. Each morning I declared new affirmations with clarity and joy, each word sent forth like an arrow, directed toward my desire, with no thought of how or when it would return. I had learned to let go of the how, because the how is none of my business. My business is to align, to speak, to feel, and to allow. People often ask me, "Isn't the lottery just luck?" But I have found that luck is simply law recognized. It is the outward reflection of inner alignment. And every time I set the law in motion through my words, it delivered with mathematical precision. When I look back, I see now that it wasn't a miracle, it was a demonstration of what is possible when you live in harmony with divine law. Winning the lottery 6 times didn't happen to me, it happened through me. And that's the essence of Florence Scovel Shinn's teaching. You don't chase after blessings, you magnetize them by the vibration of your words and feelings. This is not a secret reserved for the chosen few. It is an open invitation to all who dare to believe that life can be played like a beautiful game, once you understand the rules. And the first rule is simple: your word is your wand. What you speak with belief and feel with certainty must come into form, for the universe is obedient to the vibration you carry. I did not win the lottery because I was lucky. I won because I aligned myself with the truth, that what is mine by divine right cannot be kept from me. The numbers, the tickets, the timing, those were merely the visible symbols of an invisible law, faithfully doing its work. And as I continue to walk this path, every step reveals more proof that the game of life is not a gamble, but a design, and you are the architect. The more you speak with faith, the more the world around you bends to the shape of your declarations. It becomes not a question of if it will happen, but when you are ready to receive, and every day you align, Every time you speak with conviction, you are stepping closer into the dimension where manifestation is not delayed. It is inevitable. It all begins with the word. Before anything appears in the visible world, it is first spoken into existence. Most people live their lives unaware that every word they speak is a seed, and every seed must grow according to its kind. They speak of lack, of limitation, of struggle, and then wonder why their lives are filled with those very things. But once you understand that your words are not idle sounds but living decrees sent into the great storehouse of the universe, you become careful, deliberate, and powerful with what you declare. This was the very first secret I unlocked when I began applying Florence Scovel Shinn's method of manifestation. For years, I too had spoken carelessly. Phrases like "I never win," "money is hard to come by," or "I hope things get better" had become the background noise of my daily life. I thought I was merely expressing frustration, venting as people often do, not realizing I was issuing commands to the universal law, which knows no humor, no sarcasm, and no exceptions. It obeys the vibration, not the casual intention behind the words. And so, my life mirrored back to me the very conditions I had been decreeing with my own tongue. The first turning point came when I decided to speak differently, not as a wishful thinker, but as one who knows the law responds to every word. I began each morning with bold declarations. I am a magnet for unexpected financial blessings. I said it not as a plea, but as a fact, as if it had already happened. At first, the words felt unfamiliar, almost like wearing a new garment. But I continued, because I knew the law was impartial. It matters not whether you believe immediately or feel awkward in the beginning. The repetition, spoken with even the smallest flicker of faith, begins to change the very current of your life. It wasn't long before the outer world began to respond. A surprise refund from a company I had forgotten about. An old friend sending me money for a debt I had dismissed as lost. Small, yet undeniable signs that my words were reshaping my reality. These demonstrations were not mere coincidences. They were confirmations. The universe was signaling. Yes, I heard you, keep speaking. But there's a subtlety that many miss. It is not merely about reciting affirmations like a parrot. The power lies in the vibration you send forth when you speak. If you declare, "I am prosperous," but feel anxious, you send a mixed signal. The law responds to the dominant vibration. So I made it my practice to pause before I spoke any affirmation. I would take a deep breath, quiet my mind, and feel the truth of the words rising from within. I am now aligned with the stream of abundance. All that is mine by divine right flows to me with perfect ease. I let those words saturate my being, and as I spoke them aloud, I could feel their power resonating through every fiber of my being. That is when the lottery win appeared, not as a surprise, but as an expected demonstration. I had sent forth the word, nurtured it with feeling, and released it without doubt. The method Florence taught was proving itself to be as exact as any mathematical formula. You see, manifestation is not a matter of hoping. It is a matter of knowing, and knowing is cultivated by the words you continually feed into your consciousness. Each win, each demonstration is born first in the unseen realm. Your spoken word is the blueprint, and the universe, faithful and precise, builds according to the design you provide. When I claimed, "I am a magnet for large sums of money," I was not asking, I was constructing. And just as a builder trusts that the foundation will support the structure, I trusted that my words were the foundation of my financial reality. People often underestimate the simplicity of this method. They believe results must be hard-earned, struggled for, and delayed. But the law does not operate on difficulty. It operates on clarity and certainty. Once I aligned my words with conviction, the path to my demonstration became smooth. Doors opened, numbers aligned, and the resources I once thought were beyond my reach came to me by right of consciousness. So, it all begins with the word. The word is the cause, and your outer life is merely the effect. Change the cause, and the effect must follow. It is not optional. Speak deliberately, speak boldly, and know that every word spoken with feeling is a step toward your demonstration. The game of life is played with words, and those who master their word master their world. But it is not the word alone. The word is the blueprint, yes, but it is the feeling that breathes life into it. Words without feeling are like empty shells. They echo into the universe but carry no force. Feeling is the soul of manifestation. It is the electric current that charges your words with power and sends them forth like arrows of light. This was the next key I discovered on my journey to manifesting 6 lottery wins, not by accident, but by law. I began to realize that I could speak 100 affirmations, but if my heart trembled with fear, doubt, or unworthiness, I was sending a mixed vibration. The universe responds not to the words alone, but to the dominant feeling behind them. If you say, "I am wealthy," but your heart whispers, "I'm afraid it won't happen," then the fear will outshout the affirmation. The law is precise. It mirrors back to you what you feel, not just what you say. So, I made a decision. Every time I spoke my affirmations, I would first enter into the feeling of already having received. I would close my eyes, breathe deeply, and imagine the joy of holding that winning ticket in my hands. I could feel the crispness of the paper, see the bold numbers printed on it, and more importantly, feel the thrill of victory surging through my being. I practiced feeling rich before the riches arrived. I learned to walk as though the ground beneath my feet was made of gold, to carry myself as if the demonstration was not coming. It was already here. Florence often said, "Man must act as though he had already received." That is the secret. It's not about waiting for evidence before you feel the joy. The feeling must come first. The outer world is but a reflection of the inner state. The more I lived in the vibration of having already won, the more the universe hurried to catch up and match my conviction. Before every lottery win, I made it a ritual. I would sit quietly, away from distractions, and rehearse the feeling of victory in my heart. I imagined walking into the store, casually purchasing the ticket, and then receiving the news that my numbers had aligned perfectly. I could hear the congratulatory messages, feel the warmth of gratitude washing over me, and most importantly, I thanked the universe in advance. Thank you, Infinite Spirit, for this perfect demonstration of financial freedom. It is mine by divine right, and nothing can keep it from me. You see, when you feel as if your desire has already been fulfilled, you shift from wishing to knowing, and knowing is the magnetic state that attracts. There is no force in hoping and longing. Hope implies distance. Knowing declares immediacy. I had to train my emotions to no longer look at the absence of the demonstration, but to live in the joyful expectancy of its presence. Every time I caught myself doubting, I would stop and declare, "I cast this burden of doubt on the Christ within, and I go free," and the results. The universe responded swiftly and precisely. The first lottery win came as a surprise to those around me, but not to me. I had already lived it in my mind, felt it in my heart, and released it into the invisible with absolute certainty. But I did not stop there. I continued the practice. Every day I nourished the feeling of abundance, of ease, of flow. I treated my affirmations not as chores but as sacred rituals that aligned me with the rhythm of universal supply. Most people chase after external conditions, believing that once the money comes they will finally feel secure and joyful, but manifestation reverses that order. You must first feel secure and joyful, and the money comes as a natural consequence of that inner state. I did not wait for the bank balance to rise before I celebrated. I celebrated first, and the bank balance responded accordingly. The feeling is the secret. It is the bridge between the invisible word and the visible demonstration. And once you master the art of living in the feeling of your desire fulfilled, you no longer beg or plead for blessings. You stand in the knowing that what is yours by divine right is already speeding toward you. The lottery wins were not flukes. They were the direct result of feeling rich before I was rich, of living in the vibration of victory long before the outer evidence appeared. And so I continued, day by day, word by word, feeling by feeling, aligning myself with the truth that the game of life is played from within. The outer world is but the stage where the inner script unfolds. And with every word I spoke and every feeling I cultivated, I was writing the next act of my abundant life. The hunch is the language of the universe. It is the whisper of infinite intelligence, the divine nudge that leads you to your demonstration. Most people live so loudly in their minds, cluttered with fears, plans, and human reasoning, that they miss these sacred cues. But when you align yourself with divine law, when you have spoken the word with feeling and released it with faith, you must learn to listen, not with your ears, but with your inner knowing. This is where the hunch comes. And I tell you now, every lottery win I have manifested was preceded by a hunch, an undeniable, persistent message from the universe, guiding me step by step. There was a day, vivid in my memory, when I received a very strong message, not to drive, but to walk to the store. Now understand, this was not logical. I had errands to run, a busy schedule, and walking seemed like an unnecessary inconvenience. But the nudge was so clear, so persistent, that I obeyed. As I walked, I repeated silently, "Infinite Spirit, guide my steps. Lead me where I need to be." Halfway to the store, I glanced down, and there it was, a crisp $100 bill, lying on the path, untouched, as if the universe had placed it there just for me. This is not coincidence. This is law. The spoken word had set the law in motion, and the hunch was the roadmap to the demonstration. You see, manifestation is not always about grand fireworks and immediate results. Sometimes it is the still small voice that says, "Go here, do this, wait now." When you are tuned in, when your inner radio is set to the frequency of divine guidance, you hear what others miss. And the same applies to the lottery. On more than one occasion, numbers have appeared to me in dreams. They float in the space of my imagination, bold and undeniable. But it is not enough to receive the message. You must act upon it. There was a time when I missed 2 winning numbers from a dream. I remembered them, but I was distracted, unfocused, and I dismissed it as my mind playing tricks. The law had not failed, but I had not followed through. That was a lesson, a gentle yet firm reminder that the law requires your cooperation. It delivers the message, but you must be the one to walk, to purchase, to move. After that day, I made it a discipline to be still, to listen. Each morning after speaking my affirmations, I would sit quietly and ask, what is my next right step? Sometimes the answer was immediate. Other times it would come as a feeling throughout the day, a sudden impulse to buy a ticket from a different store, a gentle pull toward a particular date or number. These hunches became my sacred instructions, and every time I obeyed, the results followed. Florence Scovel Shinn called this letting intuition be your guide. She said, "Infinite Spirit knows the way to the demonstration. There are no obstacles in divine mind." I had to train myself to stop relying on human reasoning, to stop questioning every nudge with logic. The mind loves to argue, but the hunch is never wrong. It bypasses the noise of logic and delivers pure direction from the infinite. When you speak the word and cultivate the feeling, the law sets to work immediately, but the delivery comes through channels. Those channels are often opened through your hunches, a chance encounter, a sudden inspiration, a change in your daily route. These are the bridges over which your manifestation travels. And when you trust those subtle signals, you walk directly into your demonstration. The $100 bill was only the beginning. After that, the hunches became clearer, stronger. One evening, I felt compelled to stop by a convenience store I had never visited before. There was no logical reason. I wasn't in need of anything, but the nudge was insistent. I walked in, purchased a single lottery ticket, and that ticket became my second win. It wasn't luck, it was alignment. The law had orchestrated the perfect sequence, and my obedience to the hunch completed the circuit. Manifestation is a partnership. The universe sends the message, you must act. Most people expect their desires to arrive at the front door without any movement on their part, but the law works through action, guided, inspired, and often seemingly trivial action. Those small, obedient steps are the very pathways that lead to your biggest demonstrations. Every time you receive a hunch, treat it as a divine appointment. Do not analyze it. Do not doubt it. Simply obey with expectancy, for the universe knows the shortest, quickest, and most harmonious route to your demonstration. And when you align your spoken word, your feeling, and your actions, the lottery of life becomes not a gamble, but a guarantee. There was a time when I missed 2 winning numbers from a dream. The vision had come to me so clearly, as if the universe itself had painted the numbers across the canvas of my subconscious. But in the rush of the morning, in the noise of daily life, I brushed it off. I told myself, perhaps it was just a dream. I became distracted. I allowed the outer world to pull me away from the inner knowing. And when the winning numbers were announced, and they matched the very ones I had seen, I understood, not with regret, but with revelation, that the law is perfect. But my attention had wandered. The law never fails. Infinite Spirit is always speaking, always guiding, always ready to deliver your demonstration, but your part is to remain focused, to be tuned in, like a radio dial set precisely to the correct frequency. Distraction is the great enemy of manifestation. A distracted mind is like a lamp whose light flickers, unsteady, unreliable, dimmed. But when you bring your attention fully into the present, when you discipline your thoughts to remain anchored in the vibration of your desire, you become a perfect receiver. After that missed opportunity, I made a covenant with myself. I would no longer allow the noise of the world to interfere with the whispers of divine intelligence. I would cultivate stillness, not just in moments of meditation, but as a way of being. Throughout the day, I would catch myself wandering into worry, and I would gently bring myself back. I would declare, I am now in perfect alignment with infinite supply. I hear the voice of intuition clearly, and I follow it without delay. This practice of stillness became a sacred ritual. Each morning, I would sit in a quiet space, free from the buzzing of devices and the demands of the world. I would close my eyes, breathe deeply, and imagine myself as a clear channel, wide open to receive divine guidance. In that stillness, I would affirm infinite intelligence never fails. My demonstration is already complete, and I now receive clear direction, and the clarity returned. The hunches became sharper, the dreams more vivid. I began to notice that guidance often comes in the simplest of ways, a sudden inspiration to jot down a number, a persistent thought that nudges you toward a particular action. But these divine messages can only be caught by a mind that is attentive, a mind that is free from the clutter of worry and overthinking. You see, the law does not require struggle, it requires focus. The universe is not testing you, nor is it withholding your blessings until you've proven your worth. The blessings are already prepared, awaiting only your readiness to receive. And readiness is a matter of alignment. Alignment of thought, feeling, and action. After I committed to this practice of stillness and focus, my next lottery win came with such ease that it felt almost ordinary. But I knew it was the result of inner work. The number had appeared to me in a flash of intuition while I was calmly enjoying a morning walk. There was no effort, no strain, only the quiet, knowing that the law was at work, perfectly and precisely, as it always is. Florence Scovel Shinn said, "Your ships come in over a calm sea. That is the essence of manifestation. When your inner sea is turbulent with doubt, fear, and distraction, the ships of your desires cannot dock. But when you cultivate calm, when you become the still observer, the channel through which the law flows unobstructed, the manifestations arrive smoothly, without resistance." From that moment onward, I treated my attention as sacred currency. I no longer allowed it to be spent on trivialities, gossip, or fear-based thoughts. I guarded my focus, knowing that whatever I gave it to would grow. And so I chose to give it to my desires fulfilled. I visualized the winning tickets, felt the joy of receiving, and listened intently for every nudge from the universe. This alignment became my new normal. And as I became a perfect receiver, demonstrations began to pile upon one another. It was no longer a question of if they would come, but how quickly I could stay tuned to receive them. The missed opportunity of those two numbers was a blessing in disguise. It taught me that manifestation is not an occasional act, but a continual state of alignment. You must live in the vibration of certainty, remain in the posture of expectancy, and guard your focus as the key to your treasure. For the law is faithful. It never forgets a word spoken in truth, never misplaces a desire planted in faith. But you must meet it with unwavering attention. And when you do, the manifestations come not as distant possibilities, but as inevitable realities, delivered right on time, through the perfect channels, into the hands of a prepared receiver. Many ask, why the lottery? Isn't it random? Isn't it just chance? But I tell you, there is no such thing as chance in divine mind. The word luck is merely a name given to demonstrations that people do not understand. What they call luck, I call law in perfect operation. The lottery, like everything else in this world, responds to the vibration you emit, to the words you declare, and to the images you hold steadfastly in your mind. Once you grasp this truth, you realize that nothing is beyond your reach, not even numbers drawn from a machine. The method I use is simple yet exact. I speak the word, I feel the word, I obey the hunch, and then I release it. I let go of how, when, and through whom it will come. This is the manifestation method that Florence Scovel Shinn so beautifully revealed, and it has never failed me. After my first few wins, people around me called it coincidence. They said, "You got lucky." But when the wins continued, 3 in 1 month, then another and yet another, they could no longer dismiss it as mere chance. It was law in demonstration. Every day I began with my spoken word. I now receive large sums of money from unexpected sources. These were not empty words. I said them with full conviction, as if they had already manifested. But here is where most people falter. They obsess over how it will happen. They limit the infinite supply of the universe by dictating the channels through which their blessing must come. The law is not limited by human reasoning. It can bring your demonstration through 1,000 channels you cannot see. I knew the lottery was just one of those channels, a visible, tangible symbol of an invisible law. So, I would declare my affirmation, feel its truth, and then, this is crucial, I would step aside. I would not check the clock, not calculate odds, not analyze statistics. I would live my day in joyful expectancy, knowing that what was mine by divine right could not miss me. The law does not need your anxiety. It needs your faith. I remember one particular day when I felt a strong impulse to buy a lottery ticket from a store I rarely visited. There was no logical reason. The impulse was subtle yet firm. I obeyed. That ticket became my 4th win. People marveled at the luck, but I knew it was the precise outworking of a method I had learned to trust. When you speak the word with authority, feel its fulfillment with joy, obey the hunches without question, and then release it without anxiety, the demonstration becomes inevitable. After the third win, I noticed something profound. The manifestations began to accelerate. It was as if the universe had recognized my readiness and responded with greater speed. Why? Because I had reached a state of detachment. I no longer clung to the outcome. I no longer doubted whether it would come. I lived in the vibration of certainty. Florence taught, faith is expectancy. When you expect your good, it must come. But expectancy is not desperate wishing. It is a calm, joyful assurance that what is yours is on its way. The law is mathematical. It cannot fail, but it requires clarity. If you mix your declarations with fear, you delay the demonstration. If you speak abundance in the morning, but worry about lack by afternoon, you create a tug of war in your vibration. Once I understood this, I became vigilant with my thoughts and feelings. I no longer allowed outer appearances to dictate my inner state. I held fast to the truth that divine substance is always flowing, always seeking to manifest through the channels I prepare with my words. The lottery is not random. It is merely one of many channels through which infinite supply can pour into your life. But to receive through any channel, you must remove the blocks of doubt, fear, and limitation. You must create a clear, open passage through your alignment. Every time I spoke my affirmation, every time I imagined my desire fulfilled, I was widening that passage. And when I detached from the how, the universe had room to surprise me with its limitless creativity. It became clear to me that manifestation is not a matter of chance, but of choice. The choice to align, to believe, to act on divine guidance, and to release control over timing and methods. The more I practiced this method, the more effortless the demonstrations became. The lottery was no longer a gamble. It had become a demonstration of my inner alignment, a reflection of the law's precision. When you understand this, you realize that life itself is the ultimate lottery, and the winning numbers are not drawn outside of you. They are spoken into existence by your words, charged with your feelings, followed through your hunches, and received through your expectancy. The lottery becomes not a game of chance, but a canvas where divine law paints your desires into reality. The fourth, fifth, and sixth wins came almost effortlessly. By that time, it was no longer a surprise to me. I had stepped into what I now call the fourth dimension of manifestation. This is a realm beyond the visible, beyond statistics, beyond human logic. In this dimension, you no longer question if your desire will come, you know it is already yours. The outer world simply catches up with the inner certainty you have cultivated. It is a state where manifestation is not delayed, not distant, but immediate in consciousness and inevitable in form. When you enter this dimension, you no longer live in reaction to outer appearances. You understand that the external world is merely a mirror, a delayed reflection of the words and feelings you have already impressed upon the invisible plane. My daily practice became simple yet sacred. I would sit quietly, away from noise, and declare with calm authority, all channels are free, all doors fly open for my immediate supply. These words were not empty affirmations. They were commands, spoken into the great storehouse of substance that never fails to deliver. The outer demonstrations, the winning tickets, the unexpected checks, the financial blessings were simply the universe's echo of my inner decree. Each time I won, it wasn't a moment of shock or disbelief. It was a moment of recognition, as if the universe was nodding, saying, "Yes, you are playing the game correctly." The fourth dimension is not a place you visit once and leave. It is a state you must maintain. You dwell in it by continually affirming the truth of your desires already fulfilled, and by releasing every appearance of lack as a fleeting illusion. Most people live in the third dimension, where they are bound by time, space, and appearances. They say, "I will believe it when I see it." But in the fourth dimension, you understand that you will see it because you have believed it. The The law responds to belief, not to pleading. So, I made it my mission to saturate my consciousness with the feeling of having already received. Before I even purchased a ticket, I would walk as though the prize was already in my hands. I would visualize the joy, feel the gratitude, and declare boldly, "It is done." Detachment is a vital key. You must release the burden of how the demonstration will come. The universe is not limited by human channels. After my fourth win, I noticed how the less I cared about the method, the quicker the supply arrived. I stopped micromanaging the process. I stopped asking, "Will this ticket be the one?" Instead, I lived in the vibration that every channel is open and that the law would select the most harmonious path. Sometimes it was the lottery. Other times it was a surprise refund, a gift, or a hunch that led to new opportunities. Manifestation flows where resistance is absent. The more I relaxed into the knowing, the faster the manifestations arrived. Florence said, "You must act as if you had already received." That is not just a poetic phrase, it is a spiritual instruction. When you carry yourself as one who already possesses their desire, you emit a vibration that draws the physical equivalent into your experience. The outer world cannot help but respond. Each win reinforced my understanding that I was no longer playing by the world's rules. I was playing by divine law, numbers, odds, circumstances. All of these are malleable under the hand of universal substance. The more I practiced this awareness, the more fluid and effortless the demonstrations became. It reached a point where the winnings no longer felt extraordinary, they felt natural. They were the expected result of a cause I had set in motion through my words, feelings, and alignment. In the fourth dimension, there is no waiting. Waiting implies separation. In this higher state, you realize that your desire and its fulfillment are one. They are not divided by time. They are unified by consciousness. You begin to see every event, every encounter, every hunch as part of the seamless tapestry the universe is weaving for your demonstration. And so, with every breath, with every word, I maintained my place in this dimension of effortless creation. The lottery wins became symbols, affirmations in form, reflecting the law's unwavering precision. They were not the goal, they were the evidence that the law never fails when rightly applied. When you operate from knowing, the demonstration becomes a certainty. It must come. It has no choice. The law is faithful to those who are faithful to the law, and in this state of calm expectancy, where words are spoken with authority, feelings are charged with joy, and every hunch is followed with trust, manifestation flows, not as a miracle, but as the natural order of things.
If you are listening to these words now, know this. You are not here by accident. The law of attraction did not bring you here for idle entertainment. You are standing at the threshold of your own demonstration. The very fact that you are hearing my voice resonating with this message is proof that your manifestation is already moving toward you. You are not outside of divine law. You are not a spectator in the game of life. You are a player, a co-creator, and the moment you decide to speak your word with conviction, to feel it with certainty, and to release it into the unseen with unwavering trust, the universe will respond with mathematical precision. You do not need to wait years. You do not need to struggle, beg, or hope with desperation. The universe does not operate on struggle. It operates on vibration. The supply you seek is already prepared. The manifestation is already complete in the invisible realm. It is only awaiting your alignment. The moment you declare, "What is mine by divine right cannot be kept from me," you set the law in motion, and the law is faithful. It does not fail. It cannot fail. It is the same yesterday, today, and forever. Perhaps you have been speaking your affirmations, but you've wondered why the demonstration has delayed. I ask you now, are you mixing your words with fear? Are you allowing outer appearances to distract you from the truth? The law mirrors your dominant vibration, not your fleeting desires. But here's the beauty of it. The moment you shift your inner state, The outer world must shift to match it. The delay is never punishment. It is simply a reflection of your readiness. I invite you at this very moment to pause and speak a new word over your life. Declare it boldly. I am now aligned with the flow of infinite abundance. My demonstration is inevitable. All channels are free. All doors fly open for my immediate supply. Feel the vibration of those words as they ripple through your being. They are not mere sentences. They are creative forces sent forth to shape the world you will soon see. Understand this truth. The universe responds with speed and clarity when you step into the knowing. You must not ask, will it happen? You must declare, it is done. I have witnessed this law deliver 6 winning lottery tickets into my hands, each a perfect demonstration of the power that lies within the spoken word. But the lottery was never the true prize. The true prize is the realization that you hold the wand of creation in your tongue, that the kingdom of heaven is not in some distant future, but within you, activated by your belief. You are not waiting on luck. You are not waiting on chance. You are only waiting on your decision to believe, to align, and to act as if your desire is already yours. The moment you make that decision, the universe begins to rearrange itself in your favor. People will call it coincidence, but you will know it as law. So I ask you now, are you ready to claim your demonstration? Are you ready to test the truth that has worked for me and countless others? Speak your word, feel it, obey the hunches, release the need to control how it comes, and watch as the invisible becomes visible in your life. I want to hear your story. If you have experienced a manifestation miracle, no matter how small or grand, I invite you to declare it below. Speak it into the comments and plant the seed of your next demonstration. There is power in testimony, for when you speak of your blessings, you multiply them. And if you are just beginning, if you are standing on the edge of your breakthrough, write it as if it has already happened. Declare it boldly. I am now a magnet for unexpected financial blessings. My demonstration is inevitable. The game of life responds to players, not spectators. Your words are the moves you make. Your feelings are the energy you bring to the board. The law is ready. The channels are ready. The only question is, are you? Declare your desire now. Share your story below. Let this be the moment you step into the 4th dimension of manifestation, where the lottery of life is not a gamble, but a divine demonstration of the power that was always within you.